Hey guys, welcome to another Tea Time Chat. I'm joined today by pay-per-click specialist Liam Ingram, and we're talking all about, I'll get this right, it's a bit of a mouthful, we're talking all about AdWords Remarketing Lists for Search Ads, or RLSA for short, and no, it's not a medical condition. Liam, welcome, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. I've got my new special mug. I'm tweeting, go away. So there we go. Good Father's Day present. So today we've talked about remarketing before, and today we're talking about a new thing that Google's released, which is remarketing lists for search ads. So let's just start very briefly. We've got another video we did earlier, and I'll put a link to this later. But we did a show before about remarketing generally. So just give us a quick sort of 60 seconds. What's remarketing for those who don't know?
So remarketing is pretty much where someone's been to your site, they leave the site, and once you've been there, there will be a cookie put on your browser, so you'll get ads pop up for the website, sort of giving you like a subtle reminder, of who they are, what they're trying to get you to do, whether it's buying something or filling out a form. So it's quite useful, sort of getting people who don't buy right away to remind them, and then that they might convert at a later date when they've seen sort of the ads pop up.
Okay, so historically we've targeted those people across the Google Display Network with banners. So if someone's been on an e-commerce store, we can then follow them with banners reminding them about that e-commerce store to come back and buy something. And we can also do dynamic remarketing, which is following them around with a banner dynamically populated with a product that they've specifically looked at. So that's really awesome. Got some great results with that. And then those remarketing audiences or remarketing lists, we can kind of refine those a bit more, can't we? So you could say with a big e-commerce store as an easier example. So if someone's looked at the shoes section, then they could be in a shoes remarketing audience. If they've looked at dresses, they'll be in a dresses remarketing audience. So it's not one big audience, so you can have that, but you could have very specific segments or people that have visited the shopping cart but not bought something. So you can kind of chop those up quite neatly. And as I said, there's a whole bunch of videos, and we've got blog posts, and I'll put some links in for those anyway. So that's remarketing. So it's following people who've been to your website or specific sections of your website with ads across the display network. We also did a show a little while ago. In fact, I think you and I did this one about custom audiences of Facebook, so you can do remarketing ads on Facebook, and you can do them on Twitter as well in a similar fashion. But this today is very much specifically about Google AdWords. So that's remarketing, following people around. So how does this work now with search ads then?
Well, like I say, remarketing lists for search ads is different from all kind of other types of remarketing, because it's actually done through search, where most remarketing is done through the display network. So pretty much how it works is, for example, if you had an ad group that you knew was performing really well, you could, if the person has been to the website, then left, and then done a different search, you can up your bid for that person or that audience, because they're a more valuable user because they've already been to your site. So you want to sort of up your bids to be in a higher position for them, because they're more likely to do buy a product or whatever your end goal is.
Okay, so this is people we know have a stronger intent, or they know our brand, so they're more likely to buy from us. So
these people are much more valuable than people just are doing, like, if you were selling cheap shoes, for someone who puts a generic search for cheap shoes, or someone that has been to your site or been to your cart, for example, you're quite happy to bid a lot more on them, because you've got a much higher chance of converting them. So that's how it works, pretty much.
Okay, we're expecting the conversion rate to be higher. So that's the percentage of people who convert from a click into a sale or click into a lead, if you're trying to generate leads. But the conversion rate should be higher. The cost per conversion should be lower. Therefore, you can afford to bid more than perhaps you might with a general kind of search campaign. We've done a whole other show. I did one with Anthony about kind of bidding strategies and things, and we've talked before about, well, you know, top 1-2 positions, whatever it might be, but actually in some cases there's a fairly good strategy to be down in position 4 or 5. So what we're saying with this is that if your strategy generally is to be down in position 4 or 5 and get clicks a little bit cheaper, then you could say, well, I want exactly all those campaigns, the same structure of everything, all of my keywords, all of my ads are exactly the same, except that someone's been on my website. I want to bid more. I want to be in position 1 or 2 for those because I know that they already know my brand and they're more likely to convert. Therefore, I want to be in higher positions.
Yeah.
So that's what we're saying with that. I guess the second thing, the second opportunity for that then is using your cheap shoes example. So if we know that someone has been to the shoes section of our website and they're in a shoes remarketing audience, I guess we could have a search campaign that bid on kind of lower intent keywords.
Yeah.
So normally with search, you want to be doing.
There's 2 kind of ways to set your bids with RLSAs. The first option is, like you just mentioned there, target and bid. So, for example, with that, if you wanted to run a campaign just for your shoes remarketing audience, you could therefore bid on terms you wouldn't normally bid on for a normal search campaign. Like, you know, saying the person's come to the site on the search cheap shoes, you could then bid on the terms like shoes, boots, for example, a bit more generic than you'd really like.
So lower intent.
Yeah, lower intent. But you know that these are going to the people who's got a sort of relationship already with your site, so you can kind of afford to. The other way, which we typically use more, is bid only, which is, you know, if we take the cheap shoes example again, you would still have your, you know, normal ad group in the correct structure with the sort of specific keywords which you would typically use in search, but you can set your audience to bids, you know, for example, like 30% more if the people searching happen to be in your marketing audience.
So it's a bid adjustment for an existing campaign or ad group rather than having a separate ad group for a separate audience. Okay, so it's a bit like the mobile bid adjustment as well. Same
sort of principle, yeah.
Same principle. So now we're just getting the complication of, well, how much are we bidding then exactly? We're bidding £1, but actually we're bidding 30% lower on a mobile, but we're bidding 30% higher than that.
It's quite good to a degree because, it's quite good to a degree because you are actually, you know, you are in control. You're not sort of letting Google, you know, change the bids for you. You're telling them, I'm only willing to spend 30% more on my max CPC for the remarketing audience. You know, they can't just go off and do their own, you know, sort of thing. So it is quite a good strategy to use, which I think a lot of advertisers that overlook.
Yeah. It was the thing before, but you know, the main thing with search, it always is intent. And when traditionally we're picking keywords of what we want to bid on, we would typically be picking high intent terms. So, you know, if you're a travel company, you're never going to bid on Turkey because it's just, you know, there's no intent behind it. You know, you'd be wanting holidays to Turkey, cheap flights to Turkey, places to stay in Turkey, hotels in Turkey, family holidays Turkey, and all that kind of stuff, of course. Yeah. But because you know your audience that's been to your website already has that intent, you can bid on lower intent keywords in a separate campaign, or even for slightly different products that you know, generally don't work for you on search because maybe the clicks are too expensive. But that specific target audience, it becomes
it sort of allows you to go kind of against, you know, all of your it goes completely against your sort of instincts with you can, you know, like, let's say, broaden your keywords with obviously, you know, but you know that they're 2 totally different strategies, the target and bid and the bid only. So if you wanted to be a bit more cautious, the bid only, you know, works because you're still having your normal campaign, as it were, but you're just saying to Google, if someone happens to have been to my cart, then I'll bid more for them people because, you know, they're more likely to, you know, make an order. Or
yeah. No, absolutely. No, that's pretty awesome. I like that idea. Very good. Okay, so I mean, we've given a few examples, but who are you testing this with at the moment? What sort of companies and
To be
who's it working
honest,
for?
it's kind of unique where you really can use it for anyone if you've got a conversion. But in general, we've had the best results with e-commerce sort of companies. The reason for that mainly is because you can do it on, which is a relatively new thing. You can now do these on shopping campaigns. So, you know, if you looked at one product, for example, that was doing really well, you could then adjust your bid accordingly to that. I know at least 3 or 4 e-commerce clients were getting pretty good results with it for. So I mean, it's not like it's we're going through from Google sort of guidelines. We're actually seeing physical results of this working well. So
No, good.
it's
Okay.
definitely something you should do.
So that's a Google shopping campaign, and you and I did a show on that, and we're not going to get into that today about exactly how that works, but there's a whole other show on that, and go watch it. But Google shopping is awesome. We're having some great results with that for a lot of clients, so that is working really well.
Just while I think about it, a side note for these RLSAs is the remarketing audience you use currently, which is really annoying, has to be an actual AdWords tag rather than the analytics tag. They are working on it. They are working on it. But it's a bit of a different subject, so we won't get into it.
Okay. Yeah. So just to explain that very, very briefly. So the way of remarketing before used to be a Google AdWords tag that you added to your website or to specific pages to build the audience. We then progressed to say, okay, you now do this through Google Analytics, and obviously you build the audience there, and you've already got your analytics tags, and you don't have to put different tags in. You just say if people have visited specific pages, then they're in my shoes audience or whatever. But for this, you have to use the original AdWords remarketing tag.
Yeah, I mean they are working on it, but it's
Brilliant.
a bit of a pain.
Okay. So you want to be using Google Tag Manager to do that to kind of save a heap of hassle. Okay, good point. Okay, and I was going to ask you why this was valuable, but I think we kind of covered that already. Yeah. Good. So, in terms of the funnel, we kind of talk about the funnel, and that's our logo, and this is very much for people who are kind of in the top of the funnel. Yeah. We're in the middle of the funnel, really. They kind of know the brand. They've maybe seen us across social media. They've seen our YouTube channel, whatever it might be, and they're now in the middle of this search, and they may be searching multiple times before they convert at the bottom, and that's where this sits. I guess the other thing is if search is a challenge for your business because it's very competitive and very expensive, if you are perhaps doing a lot of social media and you're leading with your content, you're getting a lot of people coming and reading your blog content through organic search, through through your tweets, through your Google Plus posts, whatever it might be, and there's a lot of that, then you could just say, well, look, I haven't got the 10 grand I need per month to run a good search campaign. But if I only target those same keywords and I'm only competing to an audience that already knows my brand, then that's an area I can compete, and maybe that works better.
The biggest thing to me is that it just gives advertisers a lot more opportunities with their bidding. I mean, you kind of are just limited if you just keep it to just the generic bids and whatever the keywords are. Like you just as well make the most of the strategies out there because they're there to help.
Yeah. No, I think it's for the right sorts of businesses. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. Absolutely. So how do we go about setting this up? I mean, you mentioned about the AdWords.
So what you do is it's relatively easy to do. Saying you're in your main campaign interface, you select an ad group. Just go into the interest and audiences tab, then just say new remarketing audience. Just select whichever audience you want. I mean, you might do more than one. So if we just say, I don't know, all users, for example, select that audience, save it, and then just increase the bids by whatever you see fit. I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I normally start with about 20% just to see sort of the results, and if it's working well, I tweak it up a bit. In that section as well, you also choose your targeting method. So either, we mentioned before the target in bid or the bid only. So there's where you choose your options. One last thing as well is, which is another bit of a pain, your remarketing audience size has to be at least 1,000 people.
At least 1,000.
Yeah, at the moment.
Wow. Okay, that's going to limit how many kind of people can use this. Then, I mean, it's all right for e-commerce stores where you get a ton of traffic, but because the standard is 100, isn't it?
Yeah.
For normal display ads, but
Yeah,
for search it's over 1,000. Are there any indications that will come down?
Yeah, I think they are talking about reducing it.
Okay.
But at the moment, if you uploaded something that was less than 1,000, Google would just say that the list is too small, and then it would stay the same until you reach the 1,000.
And that's 1,000 active users as well, isn't it? So yeah, okay. I would have thought that would come down. I mean, this is still pretty new.
Yeah,
these ads are still pretty new. How long?
More designed. I think it's at the moment it's kind of more designed at like bigger companies. So hopefully it does come down, because to me it will work just as well for smaller businesses. I don't see why.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree absolutely. Interesting. Okay, good stuff. I should say that, and I'll put a card or a link up anyway. But there's, if you've enjoyed this, there's a Google AdWords guide that we've got. It's completely free, and there is an absolute ton of information in there on how to set your account up, how to get cheaper clicks, how to get more traffic, how to increase your conversion rate. A whole massive heap of stuff. And if you want to skip that and just get to the really good stuff, then do some coaching with Liam. He's brilliant. So yeah, and he does some one-on-one coaching with you, or just tell him to run your campaign and he'll make you millions of pounds, because that's what we do. So brilliant. Thanks ever so much for that, Liam. Really enjoyed that, and I think that's a really good the AdWords remarketing list for search. I think that's an amazing opportunity for the right sorts of businesses. I think that will grow as well, so we can do some real clever stuff with that, so that's good. But anyway, enjoy your tea until next time.
Cheers,
Liam.